All right, last lesson in chapter 5, graphing inequalities in two variables. So we are going to be on the coordinate plane today. This is one of my favorite lessons. You are going to need two different colors. So as long as you're doing your notes here in Microsoft Word like I have been this whole chapter, shouldn't be a problem at all because you have a lot of different colors. So our key concept is half plane boundaries. This right here makes it sort of confusing, but pretty much, I'm going to do this in my own words. We are going to draw a line in our coordinate plane, okay? That line is going to split the coordinate plane into two sides. Won't always look exactly the same, but we're going to have like one half on this side, and then we're going to have one half on this side. And I say half, but depending on what part of your coordinate plane we're looking at, like if we shift our XY axis, it may not always look like half, but remember, this goes on indefinitely in all directions. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we have to remember some things. We know that less than and greater than are open circles. So open circles on a coordinate plane are going to be our dashed lines. You can say dotted, I typically just say dashed. And our less than or equal to and greater than or equal to are generally closed circles if we're drawing them on the number line. But that is going to mean a solid line. Now this is very important for next chapter. Because next chapter we're doing systems of equations. And then we get into systems of inequalities, which means one problem that we're going to do today, there will be two of them in one problem. So we're going to graph one inequality. Next chapter, we're going to graph two on the same coordinate plane. All right, so graphing our first inequality. So 2y minus 4x is greater than 6. The very first thing we need to do is solve this for y. And I put inequality there, but it really needs to be an equation. So we are going to rewrite this as an equation. All right, so now we are going to solve this equation for y, because we want to get it in y equals mx plus b form. Because if we have it in that form, it's much easier to graph. By all means, though, you could go ahead and graph this using your x and y intercepts if you would prefer. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So 2y equals 4x plus 6. Divide both sides by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So there's our first equation. I'm also going to go ahead, make this a little bit thicker, and put my xy, ooh, that's way too thick. Put my xy axis right down the middle. That's a little better. So right down the middle. Okay. So now we have to graph this equation. So a couple ways to graph this. Remember, you can make an XY chart, or you can graph using your slope and your y-intercept. So I know my slope is 2, and my y-intercept, which is my b value, is 3. So remember, we always start at our y-intercept. So let me get a brighter color. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, put a nice little dot. And then I'm going to go to, my slope is 2, so remember that's rise over run. So 2 over 1. So that means I'm going to go up 2 to the right 1, but I'm out of room. So I'm going to go back to my y-intercept, and I'm going to go down 2, but then I'm going to go to the left 1. So down to left 1, down to left 1. All right, so now we have to go back to our original problem. And that original problem, and I typically write this at the very beginning, it was greater than, okay, greater than. So that means we are going to have a dashed line. Now, I would highly recommend you write dashed up there. That's usually the very first thing I do. Because I know myself, I sometimes forget when I go to draw my line and I accidentally make it solid. And if you do that, but you have the word dashed up by the problem, I won't take off any points. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead, put my dashed line here, and there we have our inequality. But we're not finished, because if you remember to a normal number line, I don't just put in this case, an open circle, we always shade the right side or the left side. So now we have to shade either the top half of the graph or the bottom right side of the graph. So the easiest way to do this is to choose a test point. I always choose 0, 0, unless my line goes through that. So you have to pick a point that is not on your line. Okay, it cannot be on your line. 0, 0 is typically the easiest point to pick. Now we are going to substitute this point into the original inequality, into the original one. And we're going to see, hey, is this true or is this false? So I get 0 minus 0 is greater than 6, so 0 is greater than 6. So think to yourself, is 0 bigger than 6? That is not true, okay? Not true. And I cannot spell false today. We want to shade the true side. So we need to figure out, okay, where's 0, 0? Well, 0, 0 was down here, right? But that point gave me false. So that means every point on this side is also going to be false. So if that side is false, that means every number on the opposite side must be true. So we are going to shade this whole side. So that is my true side. If 0, 0 would have been true, I would have shaded the side with 0, 0. I know some teachers will teach you, just look at which way the sign is going in problems like this. But I know for a fact using a test point works every time. All right, so try, oh, never mind, we have another your turn to do. So flip your paper over. Today's notes might take a little while, so this video might be a little long. I apologize. Let's take a look at this next one. Now what we're liking about this next one is that it's already solved for y, so first step done. So I'm going to say, okay, my slope is 1/2, my y-intercept is 3. So let's put my xy axis, we can put it right down the middle. So my y-intercept is 3. But now be careful because my slope is 1/2, so that means up 1 and to the right 2. Up 1 to the right 2. We could also go down 1, but then we have to go to the left 2. All right, what did I forget to do way back at the beginning? It is a dashed line. So I'm going to dash my line. All right, now we have to pick a side. So it does not go through 0, 0, so that's great. So I'm going to use the test point 0, 0, substitute it into my original problem. So I get 0 is bigger than 0 plus 3. See why I like to pick 0, 0? It makes all the multiplication and addition easy. So now, is 0 bigger than 3? 0 is not bigger than 3. So I'm going to think, okay, 0, 0 is here. That was false, so everything on that side is false. So I want the opposite side, because the opposite side would be my true side. All right, so here is my true side. All right, so take a moment, try the your turn, and come back. All right, so the your turn, we have to solve it for y. So y equals 3x plus 2. Don't forget to put your xy axis right down the middle. All right, my slope is 3 over 1. My y-intercept is 2. So y-intercept is 2 there. Slope is up 3 over 1, or down 3 to the left 1, down 3 to the left 1. This is again going to be a dashed line. there's my dashed line. I'm going to pick the test point 0, 0. So 0 minus 3 times 0 is less than 2. 0 minus 0 is less than 2. 0 is less than 2. Hey, we finally have our first true one. 0 is less than 2. So since 0, 0 is here, and that's true, I this time want to shade the side that has 0, 0 in it, because that is my true side. So here's my shaded side. Yours probably looks prettier than mine. All right, so first your turn, done. All right, next example. All right, I'm going to remember this time. As soon as I see this, I don't care what it looks like, I see that equal sign, so this is going to be a solid line. All right, so now we have x is less than or equal to -1. So if I were to make that an equation, it would be x equals -1. All right, so xy axis right in the middle. So you need to remember, when x is equal to -1, that is a vertical line. If you forget, make your xy chart. But it says x is -1, so x is always -1. And then pick values for y. So -1, 0, -1, 1, -1, 2. So notice how it's giving you a vertical line. So I'm going to have a solid vertical line. And now we need to say, okay, I can still pick 0, 0. 0's to the right. So if I substitute 0, 0 in, well, there's only a place to put the x. So 0 is less than or equal to -1. 0 is not less than -1. So if 0 is on the right and that's false, I want to shade the left because that's my true side. Right. So now don't forget, if x equals gave us a vertical line, I want you to think about what y equals is going to give you. So go ahead, take a moment, try this your turn, pause the video, then come back and check your answer. All right, so that is what the next your turn should look like. So we have one more example and one more your turn. These last two are going to be your favorite. All right. So it says Lee Cooper writes and edits short articles for a local newspaper. It takes her about an hour to write an article and about a half an hour to edit an article. If Lee works up to 8 hours a day, how many articles can she write and edit in one day? So we have a lot to do here. First of all, it's talking about her writing and editing. So I'm going to say that X is going to be writing and Y is going to be her editing. So it says it takes 1 hour to write an article, so 1x to write, plus half an hour, so I'm going to do 0.5 y, but she works up to 8 hours, so meaning she will not work any more than 8. She can work exactly 8, but no more, so that's going to be less than or equal to 8. So there's our equation. Now we're going to have to graph this, so let's solve this for y. So I'm going to do 1/2 y equals -x plus 8. And then dividing by a half is the same as multiplying by 2. So I'm going to multiply every single term by 2, so I get y equals negative 2x plus 16. All right, so now we have to graph this. And this is where I wish we would have had a graph here. All right, so we'll draw it as straight as we can. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make my scales by 2 because y equals 2x plus 16. That looks pretty good. Now, if you're wondering why I just drew the first quadrant, if we are talking about writing articles and editing articles, there's no way we can edit and write a negative number of articles. So we really only care about this first quadrant. If you drew all 4, that's okay. But I do know that on the keystones with this, they will ask you why you cannot have negative values or why negative values don't make sense. So just keep that in mind. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. That should be enough. And then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. We'll see if that's enough. All right, I'll label some here. All right, so now let's graph this. Y-intercept is 16. Oh, thank goodness, I do have enough. So y equals 16. Now this one's going to be a little bit trickier to count down to and over 1, but we can do it. The other way you can do this is to find the x-intercept then. So I'll go over that. If you wanted to find the x-intercept, that means y is 0. So I would do 0 equals negative 2x plus 16. So I would subtract 16 from both sides, divide both sides by negative 2, and we get x is 8. So it should go there. But I could still go down to over 1. See how this works out. Down to over 1, and then down to over 1. So it worked out a little bit. All right, we do have a solid line here, so I'm going to go ahead and connect that with a solid line. And now we just need to say, okay, where should I shade this? So substituting it back in to the original, 1 times 0 plus 0.5 times 0 less than or equal to 8. 0, 0, 0 plus 0, 0. 0 is less than or equal to 8, so that's true. So we would shade everything below this. So that means any combination that's in that shaded region. So that shaded region is my solution region. So that means any numbers, any 2 values that are in that region will work. So I could pick 2, 2 as a solution. She could write 2 articles, edit 2 articles. I could pick 6, 4. She could just do 0, 14, which means she could just edit 14 articles all day and do nothing else. Don't write any. So any values in that shaded region are solutions. All right, last problem. Take a moment, try the your turn, come back and check your answer. All right, so there's your answer.